She cried for help, never knowing the man destined to save her was already on his way. The night was cold, the storm wild enough to shake the trees. Emma ran barefoot through the dark woods, rain mixing with the tears on her face. Her breath trembled, her hands shivered, and her heart kept repeating one desperate prayer. Please, someone help me. She wasn't running from a house. She was running from pain. Her stepfather had spent years breaking her spirit, calling her worthless, telling her she was nothing, pushing her to the edge again and again. But tonight, he crossed a line she could no longer survive. So she ran. The mud was thick, the forest pitch black, and every step burned her bruised feet. Her vision blurred, her lungs screamed, but she kept running until suddenly her ankle twisted, and she fell hard into the wet grass. For a moment she just lay there, shaking, helpless. Then she saw it, a faint glow between the trees, moving slowly, like a lantern being carried. Hope. Emma lifted her hand weakly as the rain soaked her clothes. Help, please! Her voice cracked like broken glass. Just when she thought she might lose consciousness, the light came closer. Boots splashed through the mud. A deep voice called out, "Hello, someone there?" And that's when he stepped into her life. The man without whom this story would never be complete. A tall cowboy with broad shoulders, a dusted brown jacket, and calm eyes that could silence even a raging storm. Lucas Carter. He was heading back to his ranch after checking on his horses when he heard something. A sound too soft for thunder, but too painful to ignore. Lucas raised his lantern and froze. There she was, a soaked, trembling girl lying in the mud, with eyes full of fear and heartbreak, eyes that hit him straight in the chest. Hey, are you okay?" Lucas kneeled beside her, his voice deep but gentle. Emma's lips trembled. With the last bit of strength she had left, she grabbed onto his jacket and whispered, "Don't leave me." Those 3 words shattered Lucas in a way he didn't expect. He didn't ask who she was. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need details. He just acted. He slid one arm under her knees, one behind her back, and lifted her into his arms like she weighed nothing. "You're safe," he said softly. "I'm not leaving you, not tonight." Thunder cracked above them. Rain fell harder. Lucas carried her to his horse, placed her carefully on the saddle, then climbed up behind her, holding her steady. The horse galloped into the storm as Lucas shielded her from the cold with his own body. He didn't know it yet, but saving this girl would change his entire life. And Emma didn't know it either. But this cowboy wasn't just rescuing her. He was about to become the home she never had. 2 broken souls had finally crossed paths, and the storm had brought them together. Rain still echoed on the roof. When Emma slowly opened her eyes, for a moment she didn't know where she was. All she felt was warmth, a soft blanket around her, the smell of wood and leather, and the crackling sound of a fireplace. This wasn't the cold forest anymore. This wasn't danger. This wasn't pain. She was inside a small, cozy cabin. Her head rested on a pillow, her ankle bandaged, and a clean shirt covered her shivering body. Someone had taken care of her, gently. Someone who didn't even know her name. Footsteps approached. Emma stiffened. But instead of fear, she saw him. Lucas Carter, the cowboy who carried her out of the storm. He stood in the doorway, hat in his hand, rain still dripping from his jacket. His eyes scanned her face, not with suspicion, but with concern, real concern. "You're awake," he said softly. Emma swallowed. Her voice trembled. Where am I?" "You're at my ranch," Lucas replied. "Found you in the woods. You were hurt, exhausted. You collapsed in my arms." Emma lowered her eyes, embarrassed by her weakness. I'm sorry." "Don't be." Lucas stepped closer. "You don't have to apologize for needing help." That simple sentence hit her harder than any storm. No one had ever said that to her before. Lucas pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down. "You don't have to tell me anything," he said gently. "Not unless you want to." His kindness felt unreal. For years, Emma had lived in fear. Every voice she heard carried anger. Every face she saw carried judgment. But this man, sitting in silence beside her, was different. He didn't ask questions. He didn't force her to speak. He just stayed. A moment passed before Lucas finally added, You were shaking when I found you. I couldn't just leave you there." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She turned her face away to hide them. Lucas noticed anyway. "Hey," he whispered, "you're safe now." Safe. A word she hadn't felt in years. Her voice cracked. "I didn't think anyone would stop. I didn't think anyone would care." Lucas's jaw tightened, not in anger at her, but at the world that had hurt her. "I care," he said quietly. "And you don't deserve whatever happened to you." Emma's breath hitched. This stranger was treating her better than her own family ever had. Lucas stood up. "You should rest. I'll make you some soup. Best thing I can cook." He gave a small smile. Unexpectedly, Emma asked, Why are you being so kind to me?" Lucas paused at the door. "Because once," he said, "I was the one who needed saving. Someone helped me. Now I help others. That's how life should be." He walked away, leaving Emma frozen by his words. For the first time in years, someone understood her without knowing anything about her past. She looked around the warm cabin, at the blanket covering her, the fire keeping her alive, the bandage on her ankle, all done by a man who didn't owe her anything. Her heart whispered, something she had never allowed before. Maybe this is the place I was meant to be. As Lucas stirred soup in the kitchen, he kept glancing toward the room, worried about the fragile girl lying in his bed. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know her story. But something inside him already knew. He wasn't going to let her walk back into the darkness she came from. And Emma, silently wiping her tears, didn't know that this cowboy would soon become the one person she trusted more than anyone in the world. The storm had passed, but inside the cabin, the air still felt heavy. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, clutching the warm bowl of soup Lucas had given her. She tried to thank him, but every time she looked at him, tall, quiet, gentle, her voice disappeared. Lucas leaned against the wooden counter, arms crossed, watching her carefully. Not judging, just making sure she was okay. After a few quiet minutes, Emma finally whispered, "I'm sorry I caused you trouble." Lucas shook his head immediately. "You didn't cause anything. You were in danger. Anyone with a heart would have helped." She gave a sad smile. "Not everyone has a heart." That sentence told Lucas everything he needed to know. He walked over and pulled the chair closer to her. "Emma," he said softly, "you don't have to tell me, but if you want to talk, I'm here." Emma looked down at her trembling hands. For a long moment she stayed silent. Then she exhaled shakily and said, "My stepfather never wanted me. My mother died when I was 14. Since then," her voice cracked, "he treated me like I was nothing. I wasn't safe there anymore." Lucas's jaw tightened. His fists curled slowly. "Did he hurt you?" he asked, voice deeper than before. Emma hesitated, then nodded. Lucas closed his eyes for a moment, fighting the anger boiling in his chest. No woman deserved that. No girl should be forced to run through a storm to survive. When he opened his eyes again, they were different, sharp, protective. "I'm glad you ran," he said. "I'm glad you ended up here." Emma's lips parted slightly. "No one has ever said that to me." Lucas sat forward, elbows on his knees. "You're not going back there, Emma." Her heartbeat stumbled. "What?" "You heard me," he said firmly. "You're not going back to a place that broke you." Emma blinked, tears forming again. She had never met someone who spoke for her, who protected her without expecting something in return. "Lucas, why do you care so much? You don't even know me." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and Emma felt something shift inside her chest. "Because I know what it's like," he said quietly, "to lose everything, to feel alone." He paused, swallowing hard. "I won't let someone else go through it if I can prevent it." This time, Emma didn't look away. She held his gaze, and for a moment the world outside didn't exist. Two broken hearts, two painful pasts, two strangers who understood each other better than anyone else ever had. Lucas softened his voice. "You're safe here for as long as you need." Emma hugged the blanket around her shoulders, overwhelmed. "I don't want to be a burden," she whispered. Lucas leaned closer, his voice barely above a breath. "You're not. You never were." Silence filled the cabin, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was warm, healing. Then something happened, small but powerful. Emma's hand trembled, and she accidentally dropped the spoon. It fell onto the floor with a soft clink. She flinched, expecting anger. But Lucas simply bent down, picked it up, wiped it, and said, "It's okay. Accidents happen." Something inside Emma broke. The wall she had built for years. A tiny sob escaped her. She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. Lucas didn't touch her. He didn't crowd her. He just stayed close and whispered, "You don't have to hide your tears here." Emma cried quietly, letting out years of pain she had buried deep, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't crying alone. When her breathing finally calmed, Lucas gave her a soft, reassuring look. "You're stronger than you think," he said. Emma wiped her eyes. "And you're kinder than you know." The connection between them had changed. Not just rescuer and rescued. Something deeper. Something fragile. Something real. Neither of them said it out loud yet, but both felt the same truth. Their lives had already begun to intertwine. Morning light spilled through the cabin windows when Emma woke up again. For the first time in years, she had slept peacefully. Lucas was outside feeding the horses, the sound of hooves and gentle humming filling the cold morning air. Emma watched him through the window. The way he moved, calm, strong, steady. For a moment, she wondered how someone like him existed in a world that had been so cruel to her. She wrapped the blanket around her shoulders and stepped outside. Lucas noticed her immediately. "You should be resting," he said, wiping his hands on his jeans. Emma gave him a small smile. "I feel better today." "Good," he replied. "You look better." The compliment made her heart stumble. For a while, they just stood there, watching the horses graze as the sun rose behind the hills. Then suddenly, the crunch of tires on gravel. A truck, driving toward the ranch. Emma froze. Her breath tightened, her fingers gripping the blanket like a shield. The truck stopped. A man stepped out. Her stepfather. Emma stepped back instantly, trembling. "No, no, please, no." Lucas's entire expression changed. Calm vanished. Protectiveness took over. He walked in front of her, blocking her completely with his body. Her stepfather shouted, "Emma, you're coming home now." Emma hid behind Lucas, her voice barely a whisper. "Please don't let him take me. Please." Lucas didn't move aside. Instead, he stepped forward. "She's not going anywhere," he said, voice steady as stone. "She's mine to take," her stepfather barked. Lucas's jaw clenched. "She's not property. She's a person, and she's staying here because this is where she's safe." Her stepfather tried to walk closer, but Lucas stopped him with a hard stare. The kind of stare that warned a man he was one mistake away from being knocked into the ground. "You hurt her," Lucas said coldly. "It ends now." Emma's stepfather looked between them, Emma shaking behind Lucas, and Lucas standing tall, like a wall carved out of the mountains. He realized he couldn't win. "Not here. Not against this man." He spat on the ground. "This isn't over." Lucas didn't say a word. He just watched until the truck turned around and disappeared into the distance. Only then did he turn to Emma. Her entire body collapsed into tears, not of fear but of release. Lucas held her arms gently. "You're safe, Emma, I promised you that." "You didn't even know me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Why would you fight for me?" Lucas looked into her eyes, truly looked, with a softness she'd never seen in her life. "Because you deserved someone to stand up for you long before I ever met you." A tear rolled down her cheek. Lucas wiped it away with his thumb. "And because," he added quietly, "I care about you more than I expected to." Emma's heart pressed against her ribs, warm and overflowing. For the first time she touched his hand, not out of fear, not out of desperation, but because she wanted to. "Lucas, I don't want to leave," she whispered. "You don't have to," he replied. "My ranch, my home, it's yours too if you want it." Emma's breath caught. "Nobody has ever wanted me." Lucas stepped closer. "I want you to stay, I want you to heal, and if someday you trust me enough." He paused, voice softer than the morning breeze. "Maybe this place can be more than just a safe shelter for you." Emma felt something inside her finally settle, like a missing piece sliding into place. She leaned her head against his chest, her voice trembling. "Lucas, this already feels like home." He wrapped his arms around her gently, holding her like she was the most precious thing he had ever protected. Two souls are broken in different ways, finally finding the one person who made them feel whole. The storm had brought them together, and now love would keep them.